What's going on, guys? Dare here with Fantasy Football Advice, coming at you with another mock draft Monday. So today's is a 12-team PPR, which I'm sure most of you, that's the format that you're playing, and it's from the 8th pick. So I actually prefer the 8th pick. I don't think it's bad at all. My kind of golden area in draft positioning is picks 4 through 8. I like to have my hands in every single round. I feel like when you have back-to-back picks, that gets a little tough. You end up reaching. So, have I done many mock drafts yet this year? No, not at all. Actually, the only ones that I've really done have been those computer-generated ones, the ones on fantasypros.com, just to kind of get an idea of the ADP. I think ESPN's ADP, just at quick glance, is a little bit off, but we'll get into that more later. We're about to cue the music here. Gosh, that was loud. Maybe just for me. I don't know if you guys heard that as loud as I did, but they updated the whole format here on ESPN. I gotta say, it looks a lot nicer. If they could change that annoying sound, I'd probably go rate their app on the App Store 5 stars. So 8th pick, who are my targets? Obviously those top 5 guys are going to be gone. There's no way any of them are falling to you. Those Le'Veon Bell, Todd Gurley, David Johnson, Antonio Brown, and Ezekiel Elliott. No way those guys are going to fall to you. Me personally, I would be probably starting to consider wide receiver, that DeAndre Hopkins, Odell Beckham. On my personal rankings, I have Odell Beckham ahead of DeAndre Hopkins. That's just based on, Odell Beckham just literally being probably the most physically gifted receiver in the whole NFL. I mean, Julio Jones, you can make that argument, but just on what he's able to do after the catch, you got to go with the talent there. Hopkins is going to be a target monster, and in PPR, that's super valuable. But I just think that if everything lands perfectly for both receivers, Odell Beckham can edge out DeAndre Hopkins at basically in points at the end of the season. My pick is coming up here. I am going to get to choose between Odell Beckham, DeAndre Hopkins, or Alvin Kamara. These would be the only 3 I'd consider right now. Really, Alvin Kamara is overvalued, to put it lightly. Sean Payton and staff has already came out and said that they don't plan on increasing his volume from last year, and part of the reason he jumped in ADP was because they thought because Mark Ingram suspended, he's going to get more touches. And could that happen? Yes. But realistically, they want to keep him healthy. They came out and said that the worst thing that they could do, they literally said that the worst thing that they could do with this Mark Ingram news is to feed the ball more to Alvin Kamara. They want to use him as a role player. They don't want to get him injured. They saw what happened when he's not a huge guy. He's not a small guy either. There's guys that are smaller than him that have taken a full workload before. But they figure just use him with his fresh legs the way they did last year, and that's going to be their golden ticket. Now, his value skyrocketed with the Mark Ingram news, and we just think he's a little bit overvalued at this point. When I'm looking for a first-round running back, I'm looking for a guy that's guaranteed to get first and second down work and has the third down work, at least for the most part. Someone like Leonard Fournette. He doesn't have good hands, but he has first and second down work guaranteed, and they're probably going to increase his reception totals from last year. Dalvin Cook, same thing. His usage might go down a little bit from what it was last year. It was getting a little excessive, but he's going to have his hands in all of the roles. Now, I would think it'd be really tough to believe that Alvin Kamara is going to be coming out on first and second down, at least as a starter. I wouldn't be surprised if when Mark Ingram comes back, he's right there in first and second down, and then in which case you have a guy who's going to get sub 300 touches who is literally picked as your RB1. You got to go with opportunity over ability, but that's enough about Alvin Kamara. So who would I target at my second pick? My first pick, I have Odell Beckham. I definitely want to shore up this running back position as soon as possible. I would love to have Melvin Gordon. I would love to have Dalvin Cook. LaShawn McCoy is not bad. Christian McCaffrey is not bad. Devonta Freeman. So out of these guys, I do have Melvin Gordon ranked the highest. And then second, I believe, is Christian McCaffrey. or LaShawn McCoy. I do think Devontae Freeman is a great pick this year. I don't see why he's being undervalued. He was playing hurt through most of the season, and he still performed well on a points per game basis, and you're getting him in RB2 territory. And I mean, he unlike others finished as the RB1 in a single season. The RB1, not just in RB1. In 2015, I believe he was the best overall running back in all fantasy football. Melvin Gordon's never accomplished that. LaShawn McCoy may have in his day. Christian McCaffrey's certainly not accomplishing that this year, especially with the news of CJ Anderson coming back in. So let's take a look. We have Melvin Gordon and Odell Beckham. Not a bad start. Doesn't have that game-breaking type of upside. Melvin Gordon just kind of feels a little meh to me, you know. He does have some injury concerns. He did play a full 16 for the first time in his career last year, and he is going to be fed some targets, so you're going to look for that. They like to use him in the red zone, and if everybody believes that this defense is going to come out swinging and that this team is going to be overall Super Bowl contenders, you want the running back on that team. Previous years, we've actually avoided Melvin Gordon. I don't think that's going to be the case this year. I don't think he's going to be a super huge target for us either, but if the value falls kind of like it did right now, you have the 8th pick, then he's definitely a guy you should keep on your board. Now, what I would do heading into my 3rd pick is I would be also looking for another running back. I like after the Browns 4 and 5, there's really some good receivers that are left. Let's go ahead and take a look at the running back. So with my next pick, theoretically, I'm going to get somebody like Jordan Howard, Joe Mixon, Kenyon Drake, all guys I'm fine with. I'm not going to touch Mark Ingram. Devontae Freeman, how he's fallen this far is just insane, but he just got taken. That value is insane. I would prefer to have someone like Joe Mixon or Jordan Howard. This is PPR, so I definitely would rather have Joe Mixon. But once you start getting into this area, it's a little hazy. So you have the Darius Guys, Rashad Penny, Royce Freeman. Each are good in their own. But the wide receivers you compare that to, it's just insane. You still have Josh Gordon, Golden Tate, Jarvis Landry, Amari Cooper at 54 overall. He's a guy that, on this format, is definitely ranked inappropriately. We're low on him too, but not that low. He should not be 54 overall. So I'm coming up. Let's take a look at who my running backs are. Would love Joe Mixon. I'm basically getting Joe Mixon or Jordan Howard. Really hoping it's Joe Mixon just because it's PPR. But if it's Jordan Howard, I'd still feel good about my pick. And then on the wraparound, I'll probably get one of these top flight wide receivers that are left, and then finish it up and hope one of these rookies is available. Preferably Rashad Penny. So I got Joe Mixon. So let's see. Derrick Henry got taken before Joe Mixon. I definitely could have considered Derrick Henry. I think we're going to take the stance on watch in preseason to see what's going on with that team, especially around the running back situation. The wide receiver position is definitely also going to be something that you want to take a look at in preseason, because we don't 100% know where the targets are going to fall. Everyone wants to assume Corey Davis, and he's definitely the most likely person to receive these targets, but we just don't know at this point. And then you have to remember that this team is not a very pass-heavy offense. In fact, they've been one of the lowest passing offenses in the past few seasons. Now, that bodes well for a player like Derrick Henry. The only problem is we don't know who's going to get the touches in the backfield. Presumably the bigger back's going to get first and second down work, but when you break it down to historically what each has done, Derrick Henry has been in on more third downs than percentage-wise than Dion Lewis. Now, I think that's just situational because he was playing behind DeMarco Murray. Dion Lewis was kind of the lead back there, especially last year. But at this point, there's just too many factors that we need to see work themselves out. So we would definitely take him below. He's kind of a high risk because of his draft price, but also a high reward. Would it surprise us if, I mean, if Dion Lewis gets hurt, which, let's be real, Dion Lewis can definitely get hurt, and if Derrick Henry just balls out of control and gets, 65-70% of all touches out of this backfield, then he's going to be a top 5 back. Realistically, he can catch and he can break away big plays. We've seen him be very unproductive too, but we've also seen that issue be resolved when he gets enough touches. So my next pick is coming up here. That's the Derrick Henry spiel. Be looking at a wide receiver. Love Diggs, love Tate. I'm liking Allen Robinson. I don't want to say the word love. I like Demaryius Thomas too. Like Amari Cooper. I could hope Amari Cooper falls to me again. Let's just take a look at who the running backs are. I would not be afraid to go running back, running back, running back. I'm going to go wide receiver though. Stephon Diggs. He just has so much upside. I had a tweet earlier this week, and if you guys aren't following us on Twitter, I'm at Dare Mabry. Nick is at FF_advice1. I put out this tweet basically saying you have to ignore a lot of stats if you're one of those people that don't like Diggs. And I have a friend, a very close friend of mine, who just thinks Diggs is overrated. And to be fair, based on the hype he gets every offseason, he hasn't really performed to that wide receiver 1 level. Or, I mean, on a per game basis, he's basically done it twice. But 2 years, last year and the year before, because he was a stud when he plays, but the injuries kind of knock him out. Not only when he gets injured, but a few games when he gets back, he doesn't look the same, and just the fact that he's not able to start for your team, and then his final end of season rankings are a lot lower. He doesn't really get that feeling of a wide receiver 1, but Diggs is insane. You have to ignore a lot of stats. He's been top 5 in contested catch rate, top 10 in catch rate alone, yards per route run. He's just an absolute beast. He had 8 touchdowns to Thielen's 4 last year on something like 50 less targets. And I mean, Diggs isn't even a huge receiver. I think Adam Thielen has him by a couple inches. But Kirk Cousins is coming. We don't know who his favorite target's going to be. You want to go with the talent. Last year, Diggs was playing on the outside, but he's actually better in the slot. Thielen was playing in the slot. He's not better on the outside, but Thielen's good on the outside. But they did it that way because, think about it this way, both players can play in the slot. Diggs is actually a talented enough receiver to play outside, even though that's not his strong suit. So what are you going to do? You're going to put Adam Thielen on the outside where he struggles, and then put Diggs in the slot because he excels, and then open yourself up to that having weakness on the outside? No, at least if you put Diggs on the outside, even though it's not his strong suit, he's still going to perform better than the average player at that position. Now, Adam Thielen can play very well in the slot, so I mean, you kind of have the best of both worlds. Yeah, you're losing some upside in Adam Thielen's overall in Stephon Diggs' overall production, but as a team, you're probably gaining more net yards and net touchdowns, net first downs. So let's move on to my pick. I did say I wanted to get a running back, but I love Amari Cooper at this point. Royce Freeman, he's definitely the last guy that I have on the list. Ronald Jones, I'm not touching personally. He's too high for me. I like the Charles Sims pick. Royce Freeman is on the list, but I'm going to actually go for Amari Cooper. That's just incredible value. 1, 2, 3, 4. The 5th round pick, Amari Cooper. Oh my gosh, you have to take that, guys. Don't even think twice. I expect that to change. There is a chance I get Royce Freeman on the wraparound. Lamar Miller, as much as I hate him, he's super cheap this year. Who else we got? Rex Burkhead. Used to love him, not liking him now. Aaron Jones. Let's see where Aaron Jones is. I'm figuring out this ADP as well. 121. So we have Aaron Jones at 121, and we have Jamal Williams at 99. So clearly they're going based off of draft capital, how much draft capital that the Packers have spent on them rather than production, because Aaron Jones was clearly the more productive back last year, at least by the eye test. But we have Ty Montgomery back. They're really short on wide receiver. They're not short on wide receiver, but I want to say experienced wide receivers. We, as you know, are pretty high on Randall Cobb bouncing back this year, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Ty Montgomery taking snaps out of the, not out of the backfield, but actually out of the slot, or even splitting out wide. He certainly will be involved in some way or another. He's just too talented after the catch. He was extremely elusive and honestly can make plays out of nothing. He was really great to own last season. Here he is, Ty Montgomery, 169. Let's see some late round guys. Carlos Hyde is actually ranked where he should be, which is garbage, 128. Devontae Booker's not a bad flyer. You don't know. He's really sucked. I mean, he's had every opportunity to be the guy. I think he's had 3 separate chances where the RB1 has gotten injured and he's been able to take the full workload, and he has been unable to even average 4 yards per carry in those. CJ Anderson, not a great pick. It's kind of a meh pick. Bilal Powell, I don't want to talk about him because could this be the year for him? Probably, but are we really going to tout him again and be fooled? I think he is fool's gold at this point. There's some great receivers still around. Devin Funchess, I'm loving. Let's see. Dion Lewis, Marlon Mack, Lamar Miller. Might just get Lamar Miller. Nick would hate me for getting Lamar Miller, but I don't think it's terrible value right here. You can get Aaron Jones later on, and I think you'd be set. Wide receivers are just filthy right now. Marvin Jones, Pierre Garçon, all guys we love. Brandon Cooks too. I'm not super high on Cooks, but as a late round kind of flyer, not even late round, mid round kind of flyer pick, he could be someone who is boom or bust, but has such lower upside. So his boom games aren't going to be big. His bust games are going to be just as low. So you're talking about a guy who in PPR is getting between 2 catches for 24 yards, or at his high, 6 catches for 84 yards and a touchdown. You know, as opposed to his previous situations with Hall of Fame quarterbacks where he was getting, 7 catches for 164 yards and 2 touchdowns. I don't think Goff can do it. I'm sorry. I don't think Goff is that good. Plus, the type of offense they run, they want to throw to the guy that's open. And Cooks, while he can get open, he's so fast. I think that this offense bodes itself better for players like Kupp and players like Woods. It's going to be tough to know how everything shakes out over there as well. But I'm not saying we're completely off anybody on that team. We just want the value to fall to us. They're definitely not players that you want to reach for. So let's see we're going to be finding out who's left for my wide receivers. Let's take a quick look at the team. Melvin Gordon, Joe Mixon, Odell Beckham, Stephon Diggs, Amari Cooper, and Lamar Miller. Lamar Miller and Melvin Gordon are both gross players to me. They're kind of the players you own, but you don't like. Like, you're not excited to watch him. Gordon, when he has those crazy games, you do like watching him because you like seeing him go in the end zone, but he's not the kind of guy to break off these 30-yard runs or 30-yard receptions very often, so he's kind of a boring player to watch. Diggs and Odell Beckham, now those guys are fun to watch. I'm cool with the wide receiver here. Let's take a look at who's available for quarterback. I'm not taking one, but I just want to see. So we have Kirk Cousins. Ben Roethlisberger is super overvalued as usual. Drew Brees is just a steal. Drew Brees is a steal. What is that? QB 12 or something like that? That's insane. Tight end, Evan Engram, no thanks. Jack Doyle, no thanks. Rudolph, superior value, 132. That's going to change. I wouldn't be surprised if Rudolph is taken by the time the season starts as, the TE5. I don't think you can put him ahead of. You definitely can't put him ahead of Gronk, Kelsey, or Ertz. Graham or Olsen is probably going to be that 4th, and then I could see Rudolph being that 5th potentially. Everyone loves Evan Engram though. Hunter Henry, as you know, tore his ACL. He's not in that picture. Let's see what we got for running back. Dion Lewis is falling. He's starting to become an excellent value. Because remember, this is PPR. Wouldn't be opposed to taking him. There's just so many guys that I love here. Aaron Jones is still left. Let's see what we got for wide receiver. Any high-tiered wide receivers? If I can get Devin Funchess here, I would just be ecstatic. Now, Devin Funchess, when he did make up most of his production, it was on the tailcoats of Greg Olsen being gone. When Greg Olsen came back, he didn't have quite the upside, but you have to know that they need someone to throw to, and Devin Funchess is big. He's 6'4", 6'5". He's a big-bodied receiver who has the potential red zone upside. Cam Newton's not one to throw a bunch of touchdowns in the red zone. He averages maybe 20, 25 a year, but Olsen is definitely going to get his looks. I do like Olsen, but we know with his foot injury, oftentimes it requires a repeat surgery. And if he requires a repeat surgery, Funchess is already right in that wide receiver 2 mix. Now, can't bank on that injury. I still think Funchess has a safe floor week to week. They did draft a rookie, but he's not on the bigger side. They traded away their second biggest wide receiver, who is 6'1". They traded him to the Giants. So now they're left with more smaller bodied wide receivers and Devin Funchess. And while Funchess is not top tier in talent, he is actually top in opportunity this year. And when he was top in opportunity last year, he made the most of it. So we'll see what he can do. He's going to be a bench player on this theoretical team to start. And let's take a look at some running backs. I would say I'm going to probably take Rudolph with this next pick, just because I know, even though his ADP says 132, I really don't want to miss out on him, unless there's a running back that just sticks out as insane value. And again, Aaron Jones is probably going to be the pick after that. Yeah, I like Doug Martin as a late round flyer. I like both running backs in Oakland, Lynch and Martin. They have a lot of opportunity this season. They're probably my sleeper team to make a push at the playoffs. No one's really talking about them. They weren't that far off just a couple years back before Carr got injured. And quarterback, we still have Cousins. I'm going to go Rudolph here. He's the next projected tight end. I don't want to lose him. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8. So he's my 9th round pick, 9th round pick. Not bad value for Rudolph. I really hate drafting tight ends early at all. Something about Rudolph though, I know a lot of people probably won't agree. 2016, he did get an incredible amount of targets, but the amount of targets he received in 2016 were equivalent to the amount of targets that Kirk Cousins throws to the tight end position and has thrown throughout his entire career. Now, that doesn't mean Rudolph is automatically going to get that amount of targets. I don't think so. I still think it's going to be lower than that amount, but even on 81 targets as opposed to 130 targets, he was the TE8. If you're telling me they don't meet in the middle, somewhere around 105, 110 targets, that Rudolph can't be a top 5 tight end. He's huge. He's 6'6". He's going to be a red zone option. You got Stephon Diggs, who had 8 touchdowns last year. I mean, Stephon Diggs isn't a big guy. Rudolph is going to be the end zone guy. Laquan Treadwell actually is kind of interesting, not for fantasy purposes, but I do want to see how this team uses him. He's a physically gifted athlete, I feel like, who has been severely underutilized since being drafted. I don't know what he has done to this team to piss them off, but he's done something. And I kind of want to see, because Cousins is a guy who can spread the ball around. He's made no-name guys kind of relevant, and I want to see if Laquan Treadwell's name comes up at this point in the season, or at any point in the season, I should say. Marquise Goodwin, I love him. He's probably going to be my next pick, but I do need to get another running back. Since Aaron Jones is buried, I could probably get Marquise Goodwin, who I clearly have at a higher tier than the rest of these guys. Let's just make sure I'm not missing anybody. Like Martavis Bryant as a late round flyer. Nothing you can count on. Put him on the bench. No thanks, Carlos Hyde. Kenneth Dixon is intriguing. Nick Chubb. Not going to have a Cleveland Browns running back this year. Isaiah Crowell, no thanks. Kerryon Johnson. So Amir Abdullah has been shaken out to be the odd man out in Detroit. So Kerryon Johnson is interesting. You know Theo Riddick's going to be involved. So if you do want some like a safe floor type of guy, even though we have all these question marks in the backfield over in Detroit, Theo Riddick could be a guy that you could kind of throw out there. You know, you have a lot of riskier guys and you just need an RB2. Let's say you went the whole RB0 thing and you just need a guy you could throw in as your RB2, like just someone complete garbage, but you know he's going to get you like 5 points. Theo Riddick could be that guy for you. I'd avoid it if possible, but let's be honest, out of everybody's role in Detroit, his is probably the safest. I really do want Aaron Jones, but I could probably wait. And then I probably want Doug Martin after that. So if I can get Marquise Goodwin, and then followed up with Aaron Jones, and then Doug Martin, and then one of these guys is a flyer, maybe Foreman. Ugh, I hate handcuffing, but forgot I took Miller. Marquise Goodwin. He was really good last year. That was without Pierre Garçon. You have to understand they play two different roles. Pierre Garçon is, at this point in his career, he's a slot receiver. Marquise Goodwin is definitely a deep play threat. He had opportunity last year to perform, and I can't say he made the most of it. Fantasy-wise, he performed really well for your team. I think he was a wide receiver too, somewhere in that range throughout the second half of the season while Jimmy G was the quarterback. But if you actually break down his stats and how well he performed, he had a lot of areas he could have improved on. So he definitely is a sleeper candidate. You're not going to pay much to get him, but he is someone you could probably throw in the lineup right away. It depends on how everything shakes out, but Marquise Goodwin had plenty of drops, which means he was leaving yards on the field, yards and touchdowns on the field. He only converted, I think, 3 deep passes into touchdowns, which when you looked at the players targeted, the amount of times that he was, it was definitely on the low side. So, you know, had variance gone his way, he probably could have been even better. So when you're taking these guys in the later rounds, you want them to have upside. And Marquise Goodwin, even though there are these new wide receivers coming in, he does have upside. Everyone's really high on Jimmy G, but Pierre Garçon's a 5th round pick. Marquise Goodwin's a 9th round pick. So you have all these guys that you're not that high on, but you're super high on Jimmy G. It just doesn't make sense. You have to pick somebody that you think is going to do well, and I think Marquise Goodwin and Pierre Garçon, for that fact, are going to do well. You're just going to get a discount on Marquise Goodwin because he's not as much of a household name as Pierre Garçon, and as we know, Garçon has that rapport with Kyle Shanahan, so you make that connection. Unfortunately, Aaron Jones did get taken. I'm not super concerned about it. Not touching James White. Sony Michel can catch passes. You have Rex Burkhead. If we're doing DraftKings and it's the playoffs, I'll take James White. Okay, I don't think I'm going to lose Martin, but I didn't think I was going to lose. I didn't think that I was going to lose on Aaron Jones either. So I did go for Deontay Foreman. I doubt that they're going to be splitting time. This sucks. I hate drafting handcuffs, so to speak, but they're not going to be splitting time. Let's be honest. Miller is probably going to be the starter, and then at some point in the season, Foreman's going to end up taking over, kind of what was projected last season. So if they split time, that's just 2 running backs lost on, because neither one's going to be amazing per se. and they're both going to eat into each other's value. So you can't start both. You're going to start one, and you're going to be starting basically half of a full RB because he's going to get half of the workload. So taking him as a handcuff has that risk, but I mean, theoretically, I could have Miller for the whole season, who plays well. He was playing decently well while Deshaun Watson was in there. He had, I think, one game with 2 touchdowns. It was over 20, almost 30 points. The rest of his games were about 10. So in the flex, he's fine if he's able to repeat that performance. And if not, and he gets overtaken like a lot of us project him to, I think Miller's time is done. I think he's had his opportunity and faltered enough. Give Foreman a shot, and if so, this late round of an investment, it's really not that much. I like to go running back heavy at the tail end of the draft. I would start to take a look at quarterback, but I'm not going to really go out of my way to take one. Let's see, I have Goodwin, Funchess, Diggs, Beckham, Cooper. That's enough wide receivers for me, honestly. I think I'm actually going to go running back. I like to take my lottery picks as running back. And with having Lamar Miller and Deontay Foreman on the same team, I feel like I'm still really dying for running back. I'm interested in Kenneth Dixon. Like I said, I am still interested in Devontae Booker. Latavius Murray's not a pick I'm interested in too much. He's not going to repeat what he did last season. I know you think, insert Dalvin Cook where Jerick McKinnon was, but it's just not going to work like that. I'm going to take Kenneth Dixon. You want to say insert Dalvin Cook. Insert Dalvin Cook where Jerick McKinnon was, and it's just not going to work like that. Because unlike Jerick McKinnon, Dalvin Cook is amazing on the ground. Just watch Jerick McKinnon throughout his entire Minnesota career. He has not looked like a great back on the ground. In the passing game, he's been decent. He has good hands, but he hasn't really done a lot after the catch. Clearly, his red zone opportunities were limited because of Matt Asiata back in the day. But I just really don't see Dalvin Cook coming in and just playing a Jerick McKinnon role. He's going to have first and second down work almost exclusively, and then third down work definitely exclusively. Latavius Murray can't catch. I think Latavius Murray is going to take away some touches from him just to keep his legs fresh, but he's not going to really eat into his production. Also, if you're in a close game or you're in the red zone, who are you going to trust? Latavius Murray, or are you going to trust your stud in Dalvin Cook? Dalvin Cook also has some upside to improve upon his numbers that he was doing last year. He had a lot of drops, and I would expect him to improve on that in this offseason. I mean, he's had his ACL tear, so he hasn't been able to do much. One thing he has been able to do is work on his hands. So I expect that to improve. And with my next pick, I'm going to probably go Doug Martin. Let's take a look at the quarterbacks, though. I just want to see the ADP. So Jimmy G's still on the board. Jameis Winston, I actually like he's getting some respect. So we have Patrick Mahomes, Jameis Winston, Jimmy G, Marcus Mariota. I love all 4 of these guys. I'd be happy drafting them. If it's Patrick Mahomes, though, I would want I want to say I want a backup, but just looking here, I'd even be fine starting Eli Manning, like, off of the waiver. So I wouldn't draft a backup, but I would want a backup plan. Let's see. Martavis Bryant is a great pick in round 12. Doug Martin. Alright, so I got one more running back. Let's see. Charles Sims. I love him in PPR leagues. He's the forgotten man. He was injured for like most of the season last year, but he's been incredible throughout his career. They signed him to a 1-year contract. They are planning on using him, at least giving him a shot. Naheem Hines, he's a good running back flyer. Frank Gore, I'm not touching. Giovanni Bernard is fine. But when I have fine already, kind of want upside. Not touching Sproles, not touching Blunt. I mean, Sproles is okay in deeper leagues. I don't want Blunt. Don't want Chris Ivory. DeMarco Murray could be an interesting pick because we don't know where he's going to land. CJ Procise. I think I want Charles Sims. And then let's see. I can get my quarterback. I think it'd be fine with Matt Ryan, Jimmy G. So actually, I don't think Charles Sims is gonna get taken, so I can go quarterback. I'm gonna go Jimmy Garoppolo. Match him with Marquise Goodwin, and there you go. That's some money right there. Matt Ryan, he's just been the biggest flip-flopper in ADP forever. Jared Goff, I'm not super high on. He performed well. Derek Carr, I think, has some upside. I think he, in this range, is being a little bit disrespected. I feel like nobody wants to have him, but I think he does have some upside. Eli Manning, for sure, is a sleeper. I can almost guarantee you he's going to be the first quarterback picked up off waivers when the bye week's hit. Maybe even sooner if he comes out performing as well as the weapons around him. The weapons around him are amazing. Sterling Shepard, Evan Engram, Odell Beckham, Saquon Barkley. I mean, try to find, 4 players that are that good at their positions. It's going to be hard. I mean, you got the Steelers, of course, but I mean, they're loaded. They're loaded with receiving talent, and as long as Eli Manning doesn't ruin that for all of them, then he's going to be a great pick. And you actually don't even have to pick him. He's going to be a great pickup off waivers. What do I need? A defense and a kicker? Who cares? No one's going to draft Charles Sims. He's going to be my late round guy. I'll probably have in every league. Yeah, what is he projected? 201. Yeah, no one's going to take him, so I can just go straight into defense and kicker. In the list of priorities, defense is above kicker, but both of them are not priorities. I love the Saints defense this year. You're going to hear me talk about them a lot. Last year was Eagles, Eagles, Eagles. This year is going to be Saints defense all the way. They added Patrick Robinson. They added a linebacker from Dallas. They just completely added talent to a defense that was already pretty good. And we know defense out of all of the positions has the biggest, biggest fluctuation from year to year. I mean, a good way and a bad way, and I think Saints have added the necessary pieces to take that step forward. Take that step from like a top 10, borderline top 10 to borderline top 5. And if you're getting them around, the defense 10, 11, 12, or in some cases just completely avoided. Seahawks still has that name value, but it's decimated. The Seahawks defense is not the one that you came to know and love. Saints defense is on the rise. Get it? A little bit lower on Steelers defense than I was last year. Ryan Shazier actually makes a bigger difference than you guys think in both the passing game and the run defense. So ever since he left last year, the Steelers defense was just poor, and I just want no part of it without Shazier. I don't even think the guy's walking right now still. So without him, it's kind of a wait and see, and which means I'm not drafting him. There's too many defenses you can stream. And one of them being the Lions, the Falcons, the Bears even. I like the Bears this year. So yeah, I'm avoiding the Steelers, at least right now. Let's see, I got Charles Sims. It's unfortunate John Kelly went to the Rams. Got my kicker. Let's see, running back, Sims. Get my kicker first. I'm in a Terry now. Minnesota kicker's a great one because if 1 year Dustin Hopkins, he was the kicker for Washington. He was actually the best kicker, not because the Washington offense was so great. They were good, but it was because really Kirk Cousins struggled in the red zone, and Kirk Cousins has had times where he struggled in the red zone, specifically without Jordan Reed. Jordan Reed, when he was healthy, was just fixing all of his issues. He was a mismatch in the red zone, and that's when Kirk Cousins did good. But when he didn't have him, that led to a lot of field goals, and I could see potentially the outcome of that happening in Minnesota. If Kirk Cousins struggles a little bit in the red zone, getting accustomed to the new offense, then it's going to be a really good pick as a kicker. Again, a kicker, you're not going to be getting too much value. I mean, it's a kicker. You're going to end up dropping them. You drop them every year. But if you have a reason to draft one, like I just said right there, why not? Last pick is going to be Charles Sims. I like Ty Montgomery though. Probably take Montgomery actually. I wasn't expecting him to last this long, so I'll leave Charles Sims just because clearly he's not going to be drafted. I do want to make a point that he is a viable late round pick, especially in these deeper leagues, 14, 16. I did a 16 team draft last week, and he was a late round target for me because trust me, all these guys are gone in 14 and 16 leagues, 16 team leagues. I'm taking Ty Montgomery. All right, so that's it, guys. Let's break down this draft. So Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback, that's fine. We're never too okay. I like this new breakdown. That's pretty cool. Shows me all my picks. Wow, I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, so Odell Beckham. Let's go wide receivers first. Odell Beckham, Amari Cooper, Stephon Diggs, Devin Funchess, Marquise Goodwin. I like them. You got a high floor with players like Odell Beckham and Devin Funchess, but then you also have a super high ceiling with players like Diggs, Cooper, and Goodwin. Diggs is a little injury prone. Goodwin's unproven, and Amari Cooper could honestly go either way. So when you're talking balance, this team of wide receivers is balanced. You have the floor guys, you have the ceiling guys, and you got the guys in between. So I'm really liking that. As for the running backs, Melvin Gordon, Joe Mixon, Foreman, Miller, Dixon, Martin, and Ty Montgomery. The running backs aren't great, but they're not these guys that are just gonna, bounce right off the rankings. But they are going to be guys that are going to be consistent performers with some upside. Joe Mixon is probably as safe as an RB2 as they can come. He's probably going to be one of those steady producers as opposed to a Melvin Gordon who could have 2 or 3 touchdowns in a single game. But one thing I don't like, and I'll tell you about these running backs, is each one of these guys is inefficient. I don't like inefficient backs because normally somebody's breathing right down their neck. The Bengals have already came out and said they want to continue to push the ball with Joe Mixon, so his job is in jeopardy. Melvin Gordon, same thing. You already know that he's going to be used. Yes, you have Austin Eckler, but if you're afraid of Eckler, then you're going to be afraid of everybody in the NFL because Eckler is not taking Melvin Gordon's job. There's one thing Melvin Gordon has done well with, it's in the passing game, and that's where Eckler shines. So basically, he's just not going to take Melvin Gordon's spot. Yeah, some touches here and there are going to go to Eckler's way, but don't worry about it. Lamar Miller, on the other hand, we've been over this earlier. Yeah, he's a serious concern. Serious concern to lose his job to D'Onta Foreman by halfway through the season. Until that time, he has played well enough with Deshaun Watson to warrant some flex value, with some RB2 upside. So, is it a gross pick? Yes. Is it a pick I'm excited about? Not really, but having D'Onta Foreman and Lamar Miller on the same team kind of shores up that I do have a starting running back, whether I choose to start them or not. Kenneth Dixon's more on the upside. Doug Martin, also an upside flyer. Neither one of those guys, Kenneth Dixon especially, hasn't proven anything. Doug Martin has an uphill battle as well. Then rounding up, Ty Montgomery as a late round flyer, who I am okay to definitely hold because, like I said, he could be pushed into a wide receiver position at least to start the season. So this is definitely a kind of wait and see position. Now Saints and Minnesota kicker, just a kicker and a defense. No need to go any deeper into that. But that's it. That's my draft. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. We thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.